the Aragon Analytics review of the Cold Steel Marauder. I've done a couple of fixed blade knife reviews on the channel so far, but those were higher end blades and I wanted to get kind of a different perspective at a different price point, to kind of see what you can get for not necessarily a cheap knife. Nobody wants a cheap knife, but I wanted to see, you know, what somebody can expect to get at a value price point. And the Cold Steel Marauder here, right now I believe Amazon has it for $67.99, price subject to change as always. But as to the basics on the knife, it's a 14.125 inch overall length knife with a 9-inch Aus 8A steel blade. It's made in Taiwan. The knife comes originally with this sub-hilt design here, and that's designed to prevent your hand from slipping forward during a thrust cut or a pierce cut. It's just supposed to give a little added security to your grip in conjunction with the guard and the fact that the whole handle here is made of that rubbery craton stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pull out the knife. Starting with the sheath. The sheath is decent. It's Cold Steel's Kydex-ish. It's not real Kydex, it's more of a some form of high impact plastic. It secures the knife very well into the sheath. It's not going to go anywhere. There's no need for a secondary snap. Now, when I initially received the knife, it had this flappy nylon fold over secure it to your belt thing with an additional snap closure for the handle. And while that might be more secure for keeping the knife in, it was just too wobbly on a belt. So I went ahead and put on a Tech Lock fastener. These are very, very secure, very robust. I've used them not just in private life, I've used them in my professional career. This is what we used to secure our tasers to our duty rigs when I was working as a law enforcement officer. So they're a very secure way of securing something to a belt. So that was a little add-on. The other thing I did was I removed the goofy sub-hilt thing. My hand just was not comfortable no matter how I did it, no matter how I grasped the knife, and especially on a reverse grip it was even worse. So, you know, the guard and the sub-hilt were the same craton-y material, and as you can see, it's nothing all that sturdy, so I just cut it off. That left a rough surface underneath, so I went ahead and did a very sturdy paracord wrap, just a basic wrap on the handle. And that alleviated two problems. One, it got rid of the sub-hilt and the rough texture that was left after I cut off the sub-hilt. It also, if your hands get wet, this craton is fairly grippy, but if your hands are wet, the paracord's even better. I gotta say, I live in a hot climate, and you know, if your hands get sweaty, your hands ain't slipping on this. So it was a quick and easy fix as far as the paracord wrap and cutting off that goofy sub-hilt that I hated. The Tech Lock fasteners, you can get those off Amazon and a bunch of other places online. Was not a big effort to put that onto the sheath. I will say this though, if you're gonna, anytime you put a Tech Lock on something, these screws and the Chicago screw, the female ends of them, make sure that you clean them out with alcohol, clean the threads, let it dry, and then apply blue Loctite. And that'll prevent the screws from backing out. Another good thing, and I'm sorry I forgot to mention this, I'm going to have to skip back a little bit, sorry, poor scripting. The sheath provides a lot of these little eyelets here for securing it to a pack or doing whatever other kind of paracordy, molly-y kind of stuff that you want to do with the sheath. So enough about that. Onto the blade steel. As I said, nothing special or dare I say, nothing fancy. It is nothing fancy. It's just, see, I went ahead and made a joke about an ultra famous YouTuber and almost cut myself. Wasn't that graceful? Anyway, this is nothing special, say that. Aus 8A. It's not a bad blade steel. I think it's superior to 8CR13 MOV, but it ain't my favorite. I mean, it takes a decent edge. It does. And it is relatively corrosion resistant, but if you live in a humid climate or you're going to be anywhere near a salty environment, you need to keep some frog lube or some kind of mineral oil or something on the blade, or it will rust on you. As far as the edge, it takes a decent edge. It did take a decent edge. No complaints there. It absolutely, this is a thin catalog paper. It's like thinner than magazine paper. It's not quite as hard to cut as phone book paper, but it's close. And as you can see, this thing is a Mongo slicer. It will slice very well. You've got that classic Fightin' Bowie clip point. You've got this hollow grind, which allows, although the blade stock is, lighting's difficult, although the blade stock is fairly thick up here, what that allows is, because the blade is so broad, then it comes down, you have this, what looks like it would be a saber grind, but it's concave, it is a hollow grind, and that allows for a very, very thin edge behind the secondary bevel here. And with a blade this broad, with this kind of sweep and that kind of belly, it will slice, as you can see. So no complaints there. So if we're going to kind of summarize, and I want to kind of wrap this up, I want to keep it under 10 minutes. This knife here, it will pierce cut excellently. It will slash and slice just tremendously. The blade steel is adequate. Aus 8A is what I would term adequate. It's definitely not a super steel, but it's not garbage. It's maybe a hair above 8CR13 MOV steel, in my mind at least. Cold Steel does their heat treat on Aus 8A pretty well. The blade, as you can see from the paper cutting, took just a really nice keen edge. And for 68 bucks plus shipping, or if you have Prime you get free shipping, you get a pretty decent blade. The downside is the sheath is going to need a little work. The handle, the goofy sub-hilt thing, to my way of thinking, that needs to go, like right away. When you open up the package, cut that goofy thing off of there. The craton, although it is somewhat non-slip, I would still recommend putting a paracord wrap on the handle. What is that, like 3.5 cents worth of black paracord? And as long as you wrap it tightly, on that craton, the paracord wraps really tight and sticks to that craton, so it provides a really secure and cheap upgrade to the grip. The only thing that's hard to fix, and not really fixable, the guard here is a guard insofar as it will prevent your hand from slipping forward up onto the blade. It is not the kind of guard that is going to, if you have some kind of sick, twisted cowboy fantasies of getting into a 19th century Old West Bowie versus Bowie knife fight, This guard is not going to deflect an incoming blade. It's just craton. So, you know, do I think that's a miss? Yes. At this price point, it's kind of hard to, you know, complain about that because, you know, at this price point, would I like to see some form of steel guard, maybe about this wide? That would make this thing freaking amazing. It would be 10 plus out of 10 stars. But, you know, at this price point, it's worth the money. That's basically what it comes down to. It's decent blade steel, it's decent design, slashes like nobody's business, and it's cheap. Well, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It's not cheap. It is high value. Cheap means crap. This is a good value blade, and it is recommended. So, thanks for coming by to take a look at it, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.